Hello, and welcome to an Hourglass Project, where we take time to learn how to build and sustain a real relationship with God our Father. These Bible studies are taught by Pastor Aaron at Calvary Chapel, Tri-Cities. We meet Sundays and Wednesdays. You can reach out for prayer or questions at hourglasspod@gmail.com.
Ecclesiastes chapter 2, verse 1. I've titled this study, I Spy wisdom and foolishness. And there's something here where you just got to be on the lookout for. And so, what will you see today? What will you pursue? Will it be closer to wisdom, or will it be closer to foolishness? So Ecclesiastes chapter 2, verse 1 says this. I said to myself, come on, let's try pleasure. Let's look for good things in life. But I found that this too was meaningless. So I said, laughter is silly. What good does it do to seek pleasure? After much thought, I decided to cheer myself with wine, and while I was still seeking wisdom, I clutched at foolishness. In this way, I tried to experience the only happiness most people find during their brief life in this world. I also tried to find meaning by building huge homes for myself and planting beautiful vineyards. I made gardens and parks, filling them with all kinds of fruit trees. I built reservoirs to collect the water to irrigate many flourishing groves. I bought slaves, both men and women, and others were born into my household. I owned large herds and flocks, more than any of the kings who had lived in Jerusalem before me. I collected great sums of silver and gold, treasure of many kings and provinces. I hired wonderful singers, both men and women, and had many beautiful concubines. I had everything a man could desire. So I became greater than all who had lived in Jerusalem before me, and my wisdom never failed me. Anything I wanted, I would take. I denied myself no pleasure. I even found greater pleasure in hard work, a reward for all my labors. But as I looked at everything I worked so hard to accomplish, it was all so meaningless, like chasing the wind. There was nothing really worthwhile anywhere. Verse 12. So I decided to compare wisdom and foolishness and madness, for who can do this better than a king? I thought wisdom is better than foolishness, just as light is better than darkness. For the wise can see where they are going, but fools walk in the same. Verse 14 again. For the wise can see where they are going, but fools walk in the dark. Yet I saw that the wise and the foolish share the same fate. Both will die. So I said to myself, since I will end up the same as a fool, what's the value of all my wisdom? This is also meaningless. For the wise and the foolish both die. The wise will not be remembered any longer than the fool. In the days to come, both will be forgotten. So I came to hate life because everything done here under the sun is so troubling. Everything is meaningless, like chasing the wind. We'll stop right there and pray. Father, I just thank you for how good you are. I thank you for how much you love these kids. I thank you for this example to seek out things that don't matter. When we're not with you, Lord, it is so meaningless. And so I pray that these kids have the right meaning. I pray that they seek the things that truly matter to their heart and not just the things that are temporary, Lord. I pray for our hearts. I pray for our minds. I pray for your words here today, Lord. And I just thank you in your name. Amen. And so looking at chapter 2, again, I Spy. I love that game. My daughters, it's our favorite thing to do in the car. I spy something, blah, blah. I spy something with this. I spy whatever. And so my daughters often don't know what things are, right? They're young. And so they'll have to kind of think about it. And it's a fun way to teach your child what things are. We'll go to restaurants and they'll just put a name to something that is not the actual thing. They'll try to describe it to me. And I go, this is what it is. A clock or a painting or whatever. We were at this restaurant and my daughter was looking at a horse and it was painted kind of funny. She goes, I spy something like this. And after many questions, she's like, no, the dog over there. I go, Sam, that's not a dog. That's a horse. She goes, oh, well, that's what I was talking about. And so even though she knows the difference in animals, sometimes she just gets it wrong. Sometimes she can't see what it is. And the way this was painted, it didn't really look like a horse, but that's what it was. It didn't really look like a dog. I don't know how my daughter saw it, but we had a good laugh out of it, right? And so in your life, you're going to look for things. And does it matter? In this book alone, it is mentioned 37 times the word vanity, to be vain, meaningless. 37 times. Do you think he's trying to tell you something? 29 times he mentions under the sun. That idea of what we're doing here is only for here. But the things we pursue as believers don't just stay here, right? They're eternal. For him, this is where it ends. Just here, on this plane. Just here, focusing on gathering and collecting and all the stuff. And so, all the time, you mention the same things. All the time, you talk about the things you like. If you hear the same thing over and over and over again, it probably means you should pay attention, right? There are certain things you're going to hear throughout this book. They're going to be depressing. They're going to be sad. They're going to kind of give you no hope. Well, again, when you're seeking the Lord, you're going to find hope. You're going to find your reward. You're going to find the thing that satisfies. If you're like Solomon and you're doing it to not pursue the Lord, doing it to not accomplish his goals, well, of course it's never going to work out. Of course you're never going to find a purpose because you're doing it without a purpose. And so I have 3 things for you to think about today. How much is enough? Well, there are some things that there are going to be limits to. My wife made a ham last night, and she didn't like it. She thought she messed up. She thought it wasn't very flavorful, and she told me it was really dry. Well, I had just gotten home, and I said, actually, this turkey, or I'm sorry, not turkey. Yeah, it tastes like turkey. This ham is pretty good. It's not very dry. It's not like the most moist ham I've ever had, but it was good. I didn't mind it. I ate like 3 or 4 slices, and she was just so bummed out because she puts a lot of pressure on herself to do certain things well. She wants me to enjoy my food. She wants me to be happy to come home to her meals. And I am, because I don't have to cook. I don't have to think about it. I just get to come home and eat. So I'm really happy. And sometimes her dishes, again, are awesome and some are okay. And this dish was good. It was better than okay, but she had this fear and she felt like she didn't do enough. Well, one of the things I brought home, because she texted me, hey, I don't think you're going to like dinner. You maybe want to get something on the way home. Maybe you want to do something different. She really wanted just to go out to eat is what she was trying to text me. And so I stopped at McDonald's because I just got done playing at the park with Sam. And so I told Sam I'd get her a treat. I got her a pop. I got myself and my wife a pop. And then I got a dozen cookies because McDonald's chocolate chip cookies are awesome. And I walk in with a bag full of McDonald's. And she was so happy. She's like, good, I don't have to eat my cooking. And she opens the bag and she goes, there's only cookies in here. I go, yeah, we're going to have ham. We're going to have potatoes. We're going to have macaroni and cheese. We're going to eat the food that you made. She goes, I don't want the food that I made. I want something else. I said, sorry, you just have to be satisfied with what you did. But how much is enough? How much can you really keep going after? We could go out to eat every single day, but we would be broke, right? Every day I have to eat, but the amount I eat always varies. When I'm typically working here at the church or anywhere else, I don't really eat meals. I really don't stop to eat. And by the time I get home, I'm starving. So again, it's not my wife's fault, but it's mine. So how much is enough for you guys? Those accomplishments, those awards, the sports, the friends, the things you're looking for, that kind of love, grace, mercy, compassion, we can find it in people, but it's never going to satisfy us. So what will it take? That's the next point I have to make. What will it take for you to be happy? What will it take for you to find satisfaction? What will it take for your parents to get off your back about your grades or whatever, your choices? There are some things that it takes a long time. I talked about this on Wednesday night for the guys' discipleship, but talking about Isaac and Rebecca, Isaac is praying for children. Isaac so badly wants kids in his life, and God says yes 20 years later. He gets the answer right away. You're going to have 2 sons. Your 2 sons are going to be at war with each other. Your 2 sons are going to not be thrilled with one another. And 20 years later, he gets his 2 sons. And he gets to tell people that God answered him. He gets to tell people that God has said it's going to happen. But again, you're going to seem like a crazy person after, a day, after a month, after 5 years, 10 years. And then finally, 20 years later, you have 2 kids. They were 40 at the time. And then in their 60s, they have twins. And so again, sometimes when God answers me, it doesn't mean it's going to happen right away. Sometimes the things I tell you may not happen right away. Your parents. We're going to go to Disneyland at some time as a family. But right now, it's probably not going to happen for at least 5 to 10 years. I can't imagine going to Disneyland right now, but I would love to. I would love to take my wife and just leave my kids somewhere. But that's just not the option in our life right now. And so there are these things you're chasing after. This approval, these accomplishments, finding a worth and a meaning that can potentially be meaningless. We'll talk a lot about celebrities through this passage and through this book, because again, look at what they're doing. Those of you who watch TV, listen to music, go on the internet, all of these personalities, all of these creators, all of these people who constantly make something for others, they're always seeking approval. They're always seeking a worth, right? Whether it be money, fame. It takes a lot out of them. They're willing to go through back-breaking misery to maybe be known for everything, right? The greatest actor, the greatest singer, the greatest whatever. And in the end, someone else is going to be better. In the end, someone else is going to take their place. I was watching a video last night, and 2 people were in an interview. It was a father and son. And in this movie, the father's old, obviously. The son is in his probably 30s, maybe 40s. And there's either a flashback or some sort of reverse in time. I didn't know what the movie was, and I didn't really know the premise. But I saw the interview because I knew both actors. And the son plays the younger version of his father in the movie. And everybody online's like, oh my gosh, this guy looks just like so-and-so. Oh my gosh, this guy could be his son. And guy was laughing. He goes, because I am. I am his son. There's a reason why I look like a younger version of so-and-so, because he is. Kurt Russell's a great actor, but again, he's not going to be known forever. His son is trying to be known forever. His son is trying to not be his shadow, but again, they share similarities. And so you can copy your parents, you can copy the things of this world, but in the end, you got to be known for something. You're going to be known for something. And the last point I have for you is it worth the cost in the end? Whatever you do, whoever it's for, if you gain enough, is it worth it in the end? And look at Solomon. He's writing this towards the end of his life, an entire life in pursuit without God. And he's telling you it's meaningless. He's telling you it's hopeless. He's telling you it's not worth it. A guy who has everything. And we can see this in celebrities today. Robin Williams, one of the funniest guys to most. A guy who was very cheerful, loved people, truly wanted the best, ended up taking his life because he found misery in being by himself. He found misery in the existence that he had. Jim Carrey's gone on record, another comedian. Most of the time, comedians are some of the saddest people you'll ever know because they're always looking for that laughter. They're always looking for something that they can't find inwardly, so they have to seek it outwardly, right? And so again, one of the things you can do in life is whoever you idolize, whoever you find worth, whether it be a sports player, an actor, a singer, you start looking at their actual life. Look at what they actually promote. Look at their actual interviews and things like that, and you'll realize that they're miserable all the time, giving away as much money as possible, trying to help the world in the best way they know how, and yet it never finds that peace, right? Because they're doing it with outside of God. And so looking back into the first few verses of chapter 2, the futility of pleasure is what my Bible has it titled. It is futile. It is pointless to chase after the things that are temporary. Last night, like I said, I brought home cookies, a dozen. My kids ate one, so that's 3 gone. My wife had one, there's 4 gone. So I ate the others. 6 cookies to myself. It started at 1, started at 2, and then, I had 2 after dinner, and then I just, kept having some. My wife is like, "Are you going to eat all these cookies?" I go, "I'm not now." So I left 2. I only had 4. But my point being is I could eat cookies all day long. It's just not going to help me in the long run. I don't buy chocolate chip cookies for that reason. It's because I love them too much. My heart desires them. My stomach is satisfied by them. But again, you know what's good after 1 cookie? A second cookie. You know what's good after a second cookie? A few more. It's just one of those things. So meaningless. We'll talk a lot about it. I love looking at the definitions of words commonly used, specifically in a Bible study. The meaning just means no value, no purpose. I hope there's a purpose in me being a father. I hope there's a purpose in me being a husband, me being a pastor, me being a friend. I don't want the things that I do to end up being fruitless and worth nothing. Because I look at my father, I look at examples in my past, and sometimes it was pointless. I would have been better off being left in a ditch because it would have produced the same value, right? I love my father, but again, I love him more than he loves me. Even though he'll never say it, even though he will never claim to not love me, well, it took 1.5 years for my father to call me. My dad ended up changing his phone number. He ran into problems, and he said, "Hey, I'm changing my number." I said, "Okay, well, what's your new one?" "I'll give it to you later." Okay. Later never came. He calls me 3 or 4 times this week trying to get a hold of me. Well, I'm busy. I have stuff going on. I have other people to talk to. And finally, I call my dad back. "Hey, Dad, how's it going? What's up? What can I do for you?" Because that's my relationship with my dad. When he calls me, he's always looking for something. It may not be money. It may not be stuff, but he's looking to fill a desire in his heart. He goes, "Hey, why haven't you called me? Hey, why haven't I heard from you?" I said, "Dad, I don't have your number. The first time you called me was the first time you'd ever used that number to get a hold of me, and it's been over 1 year." He goes, "Oh, has it been that long?" I go, "Yeah, or else I would have talked to you before." And that's the thing. I love my dad, I miss my dad, but when he's not in my life, things seem to work out better. Things are a lot simpler. My dad brings in chaos. My dad brings in troubles and frustrations. And I was so angry, I didn't want to call him. I don't want to speak to him, but I need to get over myself. What good does that frustration, what good does that level of hatred, what good does that level of bitterness really do for me? So I let it go. Get over my pride, get over my arrogance, and call my father because he's obviously wanting to talk, right? And he goes, "What's your son's name?" Because he doesn't even know my son. He's never met him. He goes, "Oh, you had another kid? That's great." I go, "Yeah, Dad, I have another son. He's 1 year old. You have no idea who he is." That's the reality of the conversation I have with my father. Will they ever have that in my life? Will my kids ever experience that level the same way I do with my father? I hope not, right? But there are some steps I got to do to take care of that issue in my own life so I never end up like Solomon. I never end up like my father. So, are the things you pursue meaningless? What do you do? What do you pursue? When it's outside of the Lord, nothing can bring satisfaction. And so, in the end, I end my phone call with my dad, and he says, "Hey, I'm coming up in like April, May time. Do you mind if I swing by and say hi to the kids?" I go, "Sure, Dad. That sounds great. Give me a call whenever you come into town." My number hasn't changed in over 15 years. Longer than that. I think I've had the same cell phone plan since I was 15 or 16. So yeah, it's got to be almost 18, 19 years. I've never changed my phone number because my dad would change all the time. He would change his opinion. He would move all over the place. My dad was so inconsistent. One of the things that I've tried to do to bring stability to my life is be consistent. And sometimes that's for the worst. There are times where I need to change, but I can't because I'm too scared, right? What if I end up like my father? And so again, there needs to be a healthy balance here. He talks about drinking. He talks about laughter. He talks about stuff. Nothing brings him satisfaction. I had some friends over a couple of weeks ago, and I got some Wagyu steak. It was thin sliced. It was awesome. I love Wagyu. Premium beef, high quality, tastes amazing. I did not like paying for it. My friends who came over, I said, hey, I got a treat for you. Finish your tacos. And I grilled up this thin sliced steak, and it was amazing. Just a little bit of salt. It was so tender. And my friend says, I can never go back. I can't eat cheap steak anymore. This was too good. I said, I know, it's a real burden I've placed on your life. See you later, get out of my house. And so it's one of those things where when you know the quality of something, it's hard to go back. I bought new socks this week. Same brand that I always buy. Same thing that I thought was going to be worth it. But in the end, I cheaped out, and I don't like them nearly as much as my old socks. They just fall down. And they're the same thing. I just found them from a different site that were a little bit cheaper, and now I can't stand wearing them. I have them on right now, and that's all I can think about. They're falling off my feet. They're just not as comfortable, and they're thin. My other socks are thick, like a good steak. And so when you're looking at changing stuff in your life, sometimes that change is really good. Sometimes that change is worth it. But again, what's next? All the laughter, all of the friends. There's nothing that this guy doesn't have. Huge mansions. He's building mansions for his mansions. He's putting gardens in. There's just things that he is so beneficial on. He is considered one of the greats. But again, he taxed his people like crazy. He ruled his kingdom for himself, and his people paid the cost. Yeah, they were beneficial. Yeah, they were fruitful. Yeah, they got the benefits of having a smart guy as a king. But he was hard to live for, right? We talked about this in the introduction. But again, 1 Kings talks about this. Chapter 11. The guy has over 700 wives. And he wasn't satisfied with them. He pursued all of these women. He pursued all of this money. He pursued all of this drink. And towards the end of his life, he tells you it's not worth it. I can have all the money in the world like Scrooge McDuck just jumping into a pit full of money. And it's just not satisfying. After you get it all, what's next? For Solomon, he writes a book. For Solomon, he writes down his thoughts. He's hoping his kids don't turn out the same way. He's hoping the people around him don't end up being as heartless and as cruel and as whatever as he is. This is the least I can do for you, is like share with you my experiences. Because the last thing I want for you guys to do is leave here and feel hopeless, feel meaningless, feel abandoned. Because what happens when those good times are over? I love hanging out with my friends, but I'm at the stage in my life where I'm glad when they go home. I'm glad when I get to leave a party. I'm glad when I get to just go home and be at rest. Because again, I get to spend time with my kids. I get to spend time with my wife. I get to just be still. But when I was your guys' age, the only time I found peace, the only time I find satisfaction, the only time I got what I want when I was surrounded with other people. Because that's where my worth was. That's where the Lord spoke to me the best, was when I was with other people. Because when I was at home, it was chaotic. It was trouble. It was hard. But again, my heart changed. There's things that's happened in my life, the things that God has provided and caused growth, that I don't need to go to every concert. I don't need to go to every event. I don't need to do everything. I just need to be where God has me. And there's this aspect in your life where you have this FOMO, this fear of missing out. Uh-oh, my friend got invited to that. Why didn't I get invited to that? Uh-oh, they're all going to Dairy Queen. I don't want to go to Dairy Queen, but I don't want to miss out on that activity, right? And so when you're looking at your life, you're always thinking about what's next. You're waiting for me to be done. You're waiting to go home. You're waiting for tomorrow or the next day or the next big event. But there's always going to be something next. And I talk about this with kids all the time. Be looking forward to stuff, but don't let it consume you. Don't let it wrap you up, right? Nothing can fill that void in your heart except God. Solomon is trying so hard to fill that void. And as you can see, it is pointless. Again, looking at verse 9. So I became greater than all who had lived in Jerusalem before me, and my wisdom never failed me. Can you imagine that? And we talked about this last week in 1 Kings. God gave him wisdom. God gave him the money, the smarts. God gave him this stuff. He literally prayed to the Lord and said, can I just have wisdom? Not money, not status. And God blessed him with this wisdom, with this knowledge. But he also gave him stuff. He gave him things. He told him he was going to be successful The follow-up to that was, don't pursue things that will take you away from me. And that's where he got into trouble. He started seeing all of these girls. He started finding desire in money and drink and whatever else. And it's clearly stated. It took him away. His wives pushed him away from the Lord. And so how do you listen to the smartest guy in the world when you look at him and he's just heartless? He's just hopeless. He's just sad. There's all kinds of people I could point out, but Steve Jobs was just like this. Before he passed away, he had all the money in the world. Couldn't spend it all, right? Towards the end of his life, he goes, there's got to be something more out there. I wish I had more time with my family. I wish I didn't work so much. That's the reality to it. I don't want to work too much and just have enough so my family can miss me, right? I want to just make enough. And it's spoken about in Proverbs 26, maybe Proverbs 30. I can't remember off the top of my head. God, don't make me too poor where I have to steal, and don't make me too rich so I forget about you. I want to be just right. I want to be just where you are so I don't have to go above and beyond my desires. And so to have this wisdom and never really use it, he used it for his benefit, but not for the Lord. Verse 10, anything I wanted I could take. I denied myself no pleasure. I found great pleasure in hard work, a reward for all my labor. But as I looked at everything I worked so hard to accomplish, it was also meaningless, like chasing the wind. There was nothing really worthwhile anywhere. And again, I would love to be in a lot of places. I would love to be anywhere else than Tri-Cities. I love where God has me, but I'm always praying, God, what will you have me do for the rest of my life? What kind of father will I be? What kind of husband? What kind of friend? Because I don't want to just do this because it's my job. I don't want to just do this because I can. I want to be exactly where the Lord has me, because I don't want to end up using my skills and talents for my own growth, my own benefit. And then I get distracted and I lose sight of the Lord. And so, like most powerful men and women, they get to make a lot of dumb choices. They get to do a lot of dumb things because they have time. They can afford it, right? I can't afford to do much. When I lose something, it's hard because I can't really replace it. I can't really fix it. And so I have to be very diligent. My wife asked me to fix something last night, and I said, why is this broken? She goes, I don't know. I go, what do you mean you don't know? You're the only one that uses it. You're the only one that touches it because, again, I'm not here and the kids don't know what this is. So why in the world is it broken? I don't know. She essentially turned something in the wrong direction and she couldn't use it anymore. There's a coffee thing I have at my house, and it's for making coffee. And she turned it the wrong direction and almost broke it. She made the lid stuck, and I couldn't fix it without tools. I couldn't fix it without some assistance. And she gave it to me, and she goes, well, I don't know how it got like that. I go, you're the only one that touches it. There's no goblin. There's no ghoul. There's no guy coming in and just twisting lids so hard that I can't undo it. So I had to get out a monkey wrench, and I fixed that bad boy. But I told her, I was like, if you have to strain really hard to open this or to put it on, there's a problem. And so I don't have the money to go and buy this new thing because my wife broke something. When things break in my life, that's it. We get to throw them away and move on. Can't do anything about it. When you have all the money in the world, you can buy lots of things over and over and over again just because you can, right? Verse 13 here says, I thought wisdom is better than foolishness, but as light is better than darkness, for wise can see where they are going, but fools walk in the darkness. Yet I saw that the wise and foolish share the same fate. Both will die. So I said to myself, since I will end up the same as a fool, what's the value of all my wisdom? This is all so meaningless. That's the point, guys. We all get the same fate. Bill Gates, Taylor Swift, the bums on the side of the road, we all get the same thing. Whether you've made the smartest decisions in the world or you've made the worst decisions in the world, every single person will stand before the Lord. Every single person will go before God and have to stand, have to account for their sins. And again, when the Lord looks at me, he sees a payment. He sees a covering. He sees Jesus paying my way. For those lost in the world, they have to justify to the Lord. They have to tell them to God, the Creator. And again, when you're outside of that, there's no payment you can make. And the part that you get is hell. You get this place of torment, and God has willingly paid for you to have eternity, but you've rejected him. Again, it's theorized. Most scholars have no idea where Solomon ended up. Most people will say he didn't make it to heaven. All the wisdom in the world, all the things he knew, his father was the same way. His sins, his lust, his desires put him in a place where, again, even though David is spoken about very highly, he had the possibility of, again, walking away from the Lord just as much. So again, you can see these pastors, you can see your parents, you can see your friends. They love the Lord so much, but if it's not really rooted in their heart, there's an issue. You can understand wisdom, but do you apply it? There's these things that I know, like tying my shoes. I got to tie my shoes if I want to go for a run. It's cold outside. This morning, I was this close to putting on shorts. You know why? Because I put on shorts yesterday, and it was beautiful out. It was awesome. I was in shorts and a t-shirt for most of yesterday. And today, I thought I could do the same until I walked outside. And I was so thankful that I had my pants and I had my jacket because it was cold. I still had to defrost my car. I said, this sucks. I can't wait for spring. My wisdom, my knowledge told me that it's still winter. It's still cold. So put on pants and a jacket. My foolishness wanted shorts and a t-shirt. And I would have been fine. I'm inside. There's no harsh weather in here. I just would have been a little chilly. There's these things that you know, like your homework, like your chores, like listening to your mom and dad. I'm going to get a spanking for this, and I'm okay with it. Because whatever it is, it's worth the cost. I'm going to get in trouble for this, but it was so worth it. But over time, if that's your attitude, that's your mentality, you're going to be hurting. Solomon talks about it. Are you in the dark or are you in the light? If you're in the light, you can see. Right now, we can see each other because it's bright. If I turn off the lights and everybody closes their eyes, it gets real weird and awkward. But spiritually, physically, this is where people are at. They're walking into darkness for the thrill of it, for the fun of it. I listen to this podcast that has nothing to do with the Bible, and these guys, they talk about theories. They talk about the creepy. They talk about all the unknown in the world. And it's so interesting to listen to people who don't have God because they're so close. Every answer to their question is solved in the Word of God. And I listen to these guys because they're chasing after ghosts. They're chasing after, things. The podcast I listen to, it's all about the weird stuff that happens around the world. The unsolved mysteries. And there's a lot of weird stuff that happens in this world. And a lot of times they go to these haunted houses, they go to these abandoned buildings, and they look for ghosts. And I love listening to this perspective when somebody doesn't know God, because that's got to be the scariest place to be. I get freaked out when I go to abandoned buildings. I get nervous when I'm in a building by myself. There was one time I went to this haunted abandoned building, because, why not? I like that kind of thing. And I know the Lord. I'm totally secure in my walk with God. But again, I'm like, what if a demon gets me? What if a hobo gets me? What if the axe murderer that lives here gets me? Well, I get to go to heaven, right? But again, these guys who chase after the unknown to find satisfaction, they're going to get what they are chasing. And it scares them. It makes them nervous. There's this whole thing with applying the things you know. If your house catches on fire, you need to know how to use a fire extinguisher, right? You can't just guess. You can't just ask Google in an emergency. You got to figure it out. Solomon was a guy who had everything figured out but never applied it. He was walking in the dark and his eyes were wide open. And when he was in the light, he closed his eyes. He comes to this realization, I'm going to die and nothing was worth it. Okay, that's the end of my study. See you guys later. There's your hope for the week. If we were to end it the way Solomon ends it here, there's a problem. But as believers, as people seeking the Lord, that's not where our hope ends. I've been sad like this. I've been miserable like this. I've been in a place just like Solomon without the riches, the fame, and the fortune. I've just been sad. I've been in such a deep pit. And again, there was no reason for me to be. I put myself there. I dug that hole. And luckily the Lord, his reach is endless. Those who seem to have it all in this world are chasing the wind. How do you grab onto it? In that same passage in Proverbs that I should have looked up, I'm pretty sure it's Proverbs 30. The first part of that is the Lord grasps onto the wind. The Lord holds on tightly. He puts it on like a cloak. So how can I do it? I can't. But the Lord can take the wind and wear it. That's so magical. That's so wonderful. But again, I need to be diligent to seek him and not my own understanding. So I may not know it all. I may not get it all. But it doesn't matter because I have the creator of the universe on my side. You can't be filled from anything from the horizontal, but by the vertical. If I'm always chasing after my family, my friends, my stuff, my food, my dog, my cat, whatever it is, if I'm always looking for satisfaction on this kind of plane, it's never going to satisfy. Again, so many people in this world find satisfaction temporarily. That's the thing about your addiction. Doesn't matter what it is. That first time you get that dopamine hit, that first time you have anything. I gave my son pop for the first time last night, and his eyes lit up like the 4th of July. He was addicted. He's like, and just went to town on this pop because he's never experienced something so spicy. He's never experienced something so crazy. He's never experienced this. And now I've made an addict, right? And that same kind of mentality comes with drugs, alcohol, partying, all kinds of stuff that doesn't matter. So again, when you go to the vertical, when you look to heaven, that's what really matters, guys. I can only find satisfaction from God. I have to keep my eyes up, not down, not to the right or left. And this is where we'll end it. Flip over to 1 Corinthians 7. The key verse I want to point out is in verse 31, but I want to start in verse 29. 1 Corinthians 7:29 says this, "But let me say this, dear brothers and sisters, the time that remains is very short. So from now on, those with wives should not focus only on their marriage. Those who weep or rejoice or who buy things should not be absorbed by their weeping or their joy or their possessions. Those who use the things of this world should not become attached to them, for this world, as we know it, will soon pass away." If I focus on the things that only matter right now, there's a problem. If I don't tell my kids, my wives, my friends, my dog, my cat about God, there's going to be a problem. My cat, I actually brought my Bible home this weekend, and my cat this morning was sleeping on my Bible. And I was like, you need to know the Lord, cat, because there's a good chance you're going to hell. And so if I focus on the things that don't matter, there's a problem. If I don't tell you about the creator of the universe, there's a problem. So again, what do you look for? What do you spy on? Do you have wisdom or do you have foolishness? And with that, we'll pray. Father, I thank you for how good you are. I thank you for how much you love these kids. I pray for their week. I pray for their wisdom. I pray for their foolishness. They're going to make mistakes. They're going to do dumb stuff, but I pray that they're able to see you through it all. I pray that they're able to turn to you and seek you diligently. Just thank you in your name. Amen.
Thanks for listening to an Hourglass Project. Good news and God bless.